That has been at the heart of U.S.-China relations since the beginning. Nixon and Kissinger worked with the Chinese leadership on this question. And of course, when our current president received a phone call from President Tsai Ing-wen in December of 2016, that stirred things up as well. We all know that matters. And so we pay a lot of attention to it at the U.S. China Institute. We've made a couple of documentaries about it. We have sent delegations to observe Taiwan's presidential elections in 2008, 2012, and 2016. Afterwards, we've had Symposium focused on that. One of our speakers, when he was a government official, came and spoke here at USC. And so we have paid a lot of attention to this question. Now, one of the important things to understand, of course, and I don't have to tell this group, but this is perhaps for people who watch via the web, that Taiwan is important not because it's an issue. It's important because it's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful place with some immensely talented and interesting people. Here are some. Just in the last 2 weeks, baseball players, young baseball players from Taiwan won 3 world championships here in the United States. You can see the Kaohsiung team pretty much destroyed the Mexico City team in the Bronco World Series. These are very young kids, 9 and 10 years old, and they have a 10-run rule that if you're ahead by more than 10 runs, we're going to stop. But they won, they prevailed here in California, and there was a team from Taipei County, that won the Pony World Series, 13 and 14-year-old kids, here in Long Beach. And they defeated the team from Long Beach. And we also had a team from Taoyuan who won the Palomino. These are the older kids, 17, 18 years old, won that championship. And that game, of course, was played in Laredo, Texas. There were 3 of the Pony League championships that they didn't win. Something to aspire to, something to aspire to. But this is just, again, a reminder of the multifaceted and deep connections that exist between the United States and Taiwan. And that's something that we want to spend some time talking about today. We'll be talking about the Taiwan-US relationship, and we'll also be talking about the important relationship that exists between Taiwan and the mainland. And so we're extremely fortunate to have a distinguished lineup of speakers. Before we get to our speakers, however, I want to acknowledge that we have 5 members of the Taiwanese Legislature with us. And so if you could hold your applause until we get all 5 of them standing, that would be great. But we do want to recognize them. And so we have Mr. Zhang Qichen. We have Lin Li Chan. Wang Yumin. Chen Yimin. And also Li Yanqiu. They, of course, represent Taiwan's democracy, a vibrant entity. And in 2016, the people of Taiwan chose as their president Tsai Ing-wen. And Tsai Ing-wen, of course, represents the Democratic Progressive Party. And the mainland has not been happy because she has refused to endorse the so-called 1992 consensus that says there's one China. different interpretations perhaps, but one China. She has not refuted it, but she has not asserted it. And this, of course, has been a gigantic issue of late. The mainland says they'll talk to the Taiwanese government about anything as soon as they confirm the 1992 consensus. And the Taiwanese government says they'll talk to the mainland as long as they don't have to affirm the 1992 consensus. And so there have not been any talks, and there aren't these direct connections. This is something, of course, that we've seen recently. Now, trade between the two has expanded, and in fact, trade is up 22% since 2015. If you're looking at Taiwanese exports to the mainland, it's doing well. But there are a lot of other issues. And of course, sometimes when the US-China relationship is tense, one of the places that gets pressured is Taiwan and American companies doing business in Taiwan. Now, what's happened recently, of course, is that there's been pressure on various businesses with regard to their websites and things like that. We'll see some examples of that. But also, there's been pressure to reduce Taiwan's international space. And we've seen it most recently with the loss for Taiwan of a diplomatic ally of El Salvador, which has shifted its recognition from Taipei to Beijing. And so today, Taipei only has 17 diplomatic allies. And this is something, of course, of some concern. Now, one of the other things that's happened with the election of Tsai Ing-wen and the DPP's assumption of power in the Taiwanese legislature is that fewer people from the mainland are going to Taiwan. And so this represents, the yellow represents 2015 stats, and the light blue represents 2017 stats. And you can see it's fallen off from about 4 million to about 2 million. So it's dropped considerably. As it happens, visitors from the United States have increased during this time, and overall tourism to Taiwan has increased. But the mainland has been squeezing Taiwan with fewer group tours and things like this. So we see evidence of that. Now, this is something that you have already heard about. The Chinese Civil Air Administration issued an order to American airlines, actually to 44 different airlines from many different countries, saying, you have a problem. Your websites refer to Taiwan as if it were a country. Your websites and your apps need to change, and they need to change soon. So the order came out, and many of you may recall that President Trump's administration didn't respond positively to that suggestion. He described it as Orwellian nonsense and decried it as political correctness gone wild. But you saw how many people are flying just to Taiwan, and of course millions more flying to the mainland. And so one by one, all of the companies have essentially complied, maybe. So if you go to the United website today and you search for flights from Los Angeles to Taipei, this is what you get. Okay, one of the options is to fly to the Taoyuan International Airport. So far, so good. But if you contrast the listing for Taipei with the listing for Seoul, what do you see? Seoul has an additional designation, Korea. Taipei has no designation. Tokyo, Japan. Mexico City, Mexico. This may be an issue. St. Louis, Missouri gets Missouri and it gets United States. Beijing, no designation. Well, United thought that this would calm the waters. but the Chinese government has issued a declaration that their grade so far is incomplete. They have not yet measured up. And there are a whole host of other such examples, the Marriott hotel chain and others, that have been required to change their websites. So the pressure is real. There's no question about that. And the pressure on American companies and other companies. Many of us know, for example, the 85°C bakery that is here in Los Angeles. When President Tsai visited, that got a lot of attention, including the attention of Chinese netizens who protested and demanded a boycott of 85°C. And the company subsequently issued a statement saying that it was on board with the 1992 consensus. They have close to 600 stores on the mainland and millions of dollars at stake in this. Now, President Tsai's visit was, of course, quite welcomed by large crowds in many different locations. She spoke at the Hotel Intercontinental. One of the people who also spoke during her visit was this fellow on the right, Brad Sherman. Brad Sherman is a local congressman, and he is the author of the Taiwan Travel Act, which seeks to promote greater high-level exchanges between the United States and Taiwan. Not everybody was supportive of this. We had one set of airborne advertisements, welcome President Tsai, and then we had another set not welcoming her, saying one China, Taiwan is part of China. And so these are contentious issues that are borne out even here in Los Angeles. Now today we have some wonderful speakers, and I'll introduce them in just a moment. But I would like to begin by saying thank you. Saying thank you to our partner, the Grassroots Diplomacy Council, which brought this event into being. They had the idea, had the funding, and some of the connections, and we have been really honored to partner with the Grassroots Diplomacy Council. And today we have one of their leaders, the woman who we coordinated all this with, and I'd like to bring her to the microphone, Ing-wen.